Melbourne City GWM.
Welcome to Saturday League Kickoff.
Yeah, well, welcome everyone to Saturday League Kickoff. Scotty Sattler, Andrew Webster in the house. Welcome back, Webby.
Well, great to be back.
After your, how do we explain it?
Melanoma surgery.
Melanoma surgery.
Not that,
I was trying to soften it last week. I didn't know whether I could disclose or not, so...
Oh, you did. Thank you for your well wishes too, and everyone else who's reached out. It's all good. It's just a big shark bite out of my back and under my armpit. Hopefully, I wish they could take some out of the guts, but they didn't do that as well. But thank you to all the people at the Mater Hospital in North Sydney too, by the way.
Well said, well said. Now, what a big week it has been in rugby league, of course. All the wash up from Origin 1. We're going to get to that and a whole lot more. And welcome to our viewers right across Fox League as well, and our SEN listeners right across the network. We love it when you get involved in the show. It's all interactive. 0457 736 736 is the phone number. Whatever you want to talk about, the text number I should say, is whatever you want to talk about, we're going to try and cover as much as we can, Webby. And if you want to give us a call as well, 1300 01 1170. If you're a New South Wales fan, you can continue to rub salt into the wound. I've worn my blue shirt because I lost a bet.
Because you've seen the light.
And Queensland fans, if you think there needs to be any changes, give us your suggestions as well.
No, Queensland pick and stick. They're not going to make any change.
We pick and stick, baby. We're fine. We're fine. Hey, also, what's coming up is not only the review of Origin 1, we're going to chat to Dragons assistant coach Dean Young as well. Good win last night. Quite a dour tussle, but in saying that, they're the ones you've got to win as a side. And you've got to take advantage of this Origin period.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look, it's a bit hard to work out whether the Dragons were good or whether the Knights were just terrible. Probably a little bit of both, to be honest. But as a Dragon supporter, that's back to back.
Yep.
And when you're a Dragons fan, you'll take that. But obviously, Shane Flanagan is building something in his second year in the job, and they're now in the 8 for now at this point of the weekend. But it's good signs for the Drags.
Yeah, it is. Good part about them, they're tenacious.
They rip in.
Yeah, they do. And that's all you want first and foremost. You want to be able to have a really good defensive side. You build everything else off the back of that. So,
and when those forwards stand up, they're Clemmer wound back the clock in many ways in that first half, and so does Jack DeBellin at 34. He's when he's trucking through the middle.
His
man,
defence last
is so
night,
good.
He was cutting people in half. So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more with Dean Young. Now, as we say, the game that keeps on giving rugby league, and so is Lachlan Galvin. And the Bulldogs and Gus Gould, again, it's the story that keeps on giving, and we're going to touch on that because we saw on Monday night, and I know it's 5 or 6 days that's passed since, but we're going to also talk about the Michael Shamus, the Gus Gould, the Lachlan Galvin to the Bulldogs, arrived for the first time in Bulldogs colours yesterday as well, photos. For our Fox League viewers, there's a photo we're going to show a little bit later on about him officially signing. I've got a concern about the photo. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later.
And it's a really serious concern.
It is a serious concern.
Yeah, we're delving into the big issues here.
The Bears, of course, who's going to be their first coach? Now, it has been mooted it's going to be Mal Meninga, not officially signed off yet. And so I suppose the fallout of that is who's going to coach the Kangaroos next. And there's been some candidates thrown up as well. We're going to touch on that. But like we do each and every week, we're going to touch on our Saturday Spotlight.
The Spotlight.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Saturday games today, 3 games as well tomorrow for Super Sunday. So, Webby, what's your first spotlight?
Mine is Michael Maguire and his Blues legacy. So stay with me here. All week in the lead up to Origin 1, I had just random people coming at me on the street going, "Go the Blues!" then walking away. Now, I haven't had that for many, many years, and I think when Michael Maguire took over from Brad Fittler as New South Wales coach, Brad Fittler did a great job in his early years. I think it got away from him in the last couple, and then New South Wales lost those 2 series. He ended up not taking up a 1-year offer to coach them last year. Michael Maguire came in, they lost the first game, but through what he built for New South Wales, it laid the foundations for what happened on Wednesday night at Suncorp Stadium. If you talk to anyone in that setup, they will acknowledge that. And I heard that Laurie Daly, he didn't want to, tear up and start again, which a lot of new coaches would be tempted to do. But why would you change a system that was so successful last year? He had a lot of the same assistant coaches and a lot of the football personnel and the same philosophy, and you could see that You know, it was a real continuity from what happened last year. So I know Michael Maguire's been copied in the neck unfairly, I think, for what's been happening at the Brisbane Broncos. But I just want to give him a rap for his Blues legacy.
Well said.
Thank you.
I agree. Like it's tough for a coach like Laurie Daly to come in and say, you know what, everything last year was perfect. Why do we need to unsettle that? Because there are some coaches that like to stamp their own sort of footprint on the side. So, well done. He's surrounded himself with some really good people as well, hasn't he? Matty King, Dean Young, who we're going to talk to soon. Of course, Craig Bellamy, Frank Panisi, Brett White as well. So, yeah, it was, game one was very dominant from a New South Wales perspective. Plenty of text coming through from Lundy saying this is the PG hour. Well, it's 2 hours now, as you know. For our Fox League viewers, 2 hours instead of the 1 hour. 2 hours, of course, for our SEN listeners as well.
Do we need like a Saturday League kickoff after dark?
Well, Lundy would like that because...
Uncensored.
He would like that. Yeah, exactly. Of course, the Women's State of Origin on Thursday night was a success to the Queensland Maroons, but lost the series. New South Wales took the first two games. But I want to point out to Sarah Togatuki, who's the Origin front row, who unfortunately had to leave the field with a HIA on Thursday night. But, great sacrifice. She lost her sisters last Saturday and still suited up on Thursday night. Her coach, John Strange, says, I don't know whether he could have done it as a person, losing someone so close to him. But well done to Sarah Togatuki for the legacy of her sister and going out and playing on Thursday night as well. So well done. She's an absolute warrior of the game. So well done. I love it.
The footage of her with the family afterwards was
a
bit hard to keep your eyes dry when that was happening.
Yep. Josh on the text line, 0457 736 736 if you want to send a text, and plenty coming through already. I'm a New South Wales supporter, but it's pretty obvious Billy fumbled with the pack, and that's where the changes should be as well. So he's got some suggestions there around the pack, and we're going to get to those and a lot more of your texts a little bit later on. And if you want to give us a call, like we said, 1300 01 1170 is the number. We'll try and get you on the air. Now, game one, wash up. Let's look at 18 points to 6, of course. It's easy to say that the scoreline didn't reflect how dominant New South Wales were for probably around 60 to 65 minutes of the game. I thought there was a period in the first half where Queensland started to get a little bit of that that assertion back into the game. They were getting a lot of success down that right-hand side for Queensland. They went away from it for some reason. But I've got to say, the first set, Webby, and viewers and listeners, the first set, I was calling the game with Andrew McCulloch, former Maroons hooker, and I wrote a little message on a piece of paper and I pushed across to him. I said, that's not a great sign in the first set that a team gets to the halfway mark and the kicker's getting a kick away just back from the halfway. So they're up against it from the get-go, Queensland, and New South Wales. Well, they're like a tsunami, weren't they? It's big, powerful, and physical and fast.
Just ran through them, didn't they? It was. What made it so surprising was that it was at Suncorp Stadium. I tipped a Queensland victory. I knew New South Wales looked much better on paper, allegedly, but I've seen the movie before where New South Wales go up there looking like the short price favourites to win at Queensland's spiritual home, and they end up going back to New South Wales with their legs between their tails. But it didn't happen that way. I thought there were some great performances, obviously from Payne Haas, from Zach Lomax. Isaiah Yeo is just such an adaptable player.
Yep,
I think would be the way I'd want to describe him. He's and such a leader. I think the criticism of Nathan Cleary is just ridiculous. He left his kicking boots at home and he put in a couple of bad, tactical kicks, but the rest of his game was fantastic and on point. And I also think as a halfback, you tell me, Sats, you know better than me, but you got to know when you can't be the dominant player. You've got to be able as a half to know, Payne Haas is swinging like a wrecking ball through the middle there. Let's just leave it to him.
When he sits back, Nathan Cleary, and sees what his forward pack was doing, he's just got to be a conductor.
That's
He's
right.
got to push him around the field. I thought it was one of Nathan Cleary's, individually, and tactically, was one of his better games that I've seen for a long time because he just injected himself when he needed to.
Once again, he didn't dominate Origin. Jesus, got the chibber.
I know, yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Yep.
He also has got enough time to dominate Origin. Like, he's got so much more years left in his career. That said, rugby union are sniffing around him.
Is that fair income?
Oh, I think so.
No.
Yes.
Maybe.
I think they'd take him tomorrow.
Oh, well, I know they'd take him tomorrow.
But I don't buy into the fact that Nathan is interested.
Tim Horan started this.
I saw what Tim Horan had to say and said he was sniffing around. That Nathan Cleary's management was sniffing around Rugby Australia. I think if anything, it'd be the other way around.
Yeah,
the Rugby Australia would be interested in him.
But he is very worldly now.
He is a very worldly type.
Yes.
Anyway,
so I don't think he'll leave league. His dad won't. His dad will leave him out of the will. Hey, on Payne Haas, I should say. That was always going to be the matchup, Payne versus Tino. And I thought Tino was outstanding for Queensland. But Payne Haas was given man of the match. And Laurie Daly, after the game, was asked about Payne Haas's performance. This is what he had to say.
Our physios did an amazing job all week with Payne and Critter, because Payne's injury, we weren't sure with that either, but they were patient with him. Like Payne, I think, probably had not even half a session, a quarter of a session on the Monday, and we did nothing on the Tuesday, so he hadn't really trained, and then to push out the minutes and be strong the way he was great.
Yeah, so we're talking to Matty Scott last week on Sports Day, myself and Matty Rogers, and he says as a front row, our job is really simple. We just got to not miss any tackles, make sure we get through our sets and our runs, and ensure we do our job. It's a little bit more difficult than the halves and the centres and the fullback, whatever it may be. So missing so much training is not going to be that bad. But to still do what he did without sort of any running for 8 or 9 days,
crazy.
I think. I'm not going to say he's the best front row I've ever seen. He's got the best attributes of a front row I think I've ever seen. The only thing I can try and compare him to, now Lazo was a completely different athlete. But when...
Who?
Lazo.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but when
I said Lazo. Okay. It's Lazo you're talking about. The great Glenn Lazarus.
When Arthur Beetson went from Roma to Redcliffe, he was a centre, and then he went to the Tigers and he was a back rower. But you could see the similarities when a young Arthur Beetson, how quick and agile he was. He was able to offload the ball late. He was able to pass before he had special skills. And then they changed as he got older. Of course, we've seen through the mid-70s and the late 70s. But with the speed, the motor, the engine that he's got on, the change of direction, he can play wide like a back rower. He can play tight. There was 3 plays on Origin while calling the game that was so significant to me. The little tiny things. He did a hit up. He got through the line, got a really quick play of the ball, and then 2 tackles later, Angus Crichton made that break and gave it to Mitchell Moses, and Mo Fatawaika just dragged him down. Then the ball went to Nathan Cleary, who gave the ball to Payne Haas, who offloaded it back to, and Zach Lomax scored.
That's right.
Then there was another set where he took a big hit up, got an offload. They got a kick away. He was the first player down there on kick chase. He's a superhuman athlete.
He's like, for that size, for a bloke of that size, 120 kegs, to move at that pace and to keep doing it over and over and over for, what did he play? Was it 58 minutes to have those numbers? And you're right, I was too young to ever see Arthur. But I've watched plenty of footage of him, and I've written books around Jack Gibson, so I've seen a lot of those games and done a lot of research around it. And that's right. His ability to stand in a tackle seemed like it was, that's what Arthur was known for. Payne's got that ability. Payne does that, but also does it on top of, charging through the centre over and over and over again.
John Lang used to tell us a good story when we were at Penrith about Arthur. He said he had such a big ass.
Right.
He used to run into tackles, and he used to stamp both his legs really wide apart so he couldn't get both legs. He says they came up with a plan that when Arthur went into the tackle and turned, the third player wouldn't get involved in the tackle. They just stand behind him, and they just wait for anything to come back, any ball. And he said that was the only way we could shut him down. Those great players make you change
how you defend.
Yeah, how you defend. Now,
special player, and he's a special kid. He's obviously got a lot going on in his personal life, and that's all been well documented. So to be able to, be the leader in his family, then also the leader on the field for the football teams he plays for. If they're talking about whether players are buying into Michael Maguire's philosophy in Brisbane, Payne Haas is. You can see that.
Exactly. Now, other candidates for man of the match. There could have been so many through New South Wales. For Queensland, I thought Jeremiah Nene was great. I thought he was outstanding. Robert Toyer and his battle with Latrell Mitchell was amazing as well. I thought he handled himself beautifully, Robert Toyer, for a kid that's only played a handful of first-grade games, come back from 2 ACLs as a 20-year-old, is an amazing debut. He should hold his position. Stephen Crichton and Zach Lomax would have to go close as well on that right-hand side.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Stephen Crichton, for a player that was hobbling off the field like he was a couple of days before the game in that leaked footage.
Have we found out?
No.
Did Frank Panisi get to the bottom of it?
Who's the mole? Who's the spy?
I think, I'm aiming this straight at you, Frank Panisi. I think Frank leaked it.
Oh, and it's all, what do
So
you think, it's all bogus?
it's used as like, it's an us versus them
Let's go, let's run the ball.
He's a smart man, Frank.
Let's run the ball at Stephen Crichton.
Yeah.
Even though he's the best defensive centre in the game.
But he's not really injured. He's going to get him to limp off and get someone to take some video footage.
I like it.
Like it?
I like it.
And they had Paul Sirenen as a team manager, former police officer.
Very
Senior
good.
Sergeant Sirenen looking into the case as well.
I like it.
Yeah, you like it? So they're playing a bit of our games now, Queensland games.
What about the paranoia from Queensland? God.
Now, Queensland, what about this? 80 missed and ineffective tackles. 80.
80 missed tackles.
And
ineffective.
ineffective. Players that are, you don't win the tackle, they get an offload, they bounce off defenders and someone else cleans them up. 80. In an NRL game, even if you're team top 4 playing against team in bottom 4, you don't win the game. Or you're in a position to lose the game if you miss that many tackles and ineffective tackles.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, look, when they were, they obviously scored when Tyre was sin bin, but even in that second half, they had a few, great opportunities down the New South Wales end of the field, and they just couldn't. They just didn't even look like scoring.
Yep.
So, but let's say this. So let's look at what Queensland should do. Again, I would not be, as a New South Wales supporter, beating my chest too much, because this is exactly when Queensland strike back. This is when New Queensland are at their absolute...
We want you to swagger as much as possible.
No, well, that's why
Swagger.
that's the worst thing New South Wales should do.
Just, Laurie will let them swagger. Yeah, I want Laurie to let them swagger.
All right, well, let's get to the big one.
What?
DCE.
You going to throw that on me, are you?
Would you punt him?
Would I punt him? No, I wouldn't. But I would have Tommy Dearden like they will at Jersey 14. And if things aren't going right after 25 minutes, I'm ripping the Band-Aid off. I'm saying, Tommy, you're going on. Daly, if you need to play a role in the lock forward position as a support player in the second half. But I think he deserves to be picked. And I think Billy will pick him. And I think Tommy Dearden just needs to be probably entered into the game a lot earlier.
We said this before, excuse me, we came on air. I can't see Billy not having thought of this before he decided to go with DCE.
Yep.
36, oldest player in Origin history. Form hasn't been great. Age is just going to catch up with you at one point, and it looked like it caught up with Cherry Evans in that Origin on Wednesday night.
Yep.
But I just don't think. And the other thing that makes it complex is that he's the captain. You can't dump your captain.
There's a no-win situation for everyone.
You can't dump your captain, mid-series. You do have to pick and stick with him.
Now, before we hear what Billy Slater had to say after that game, one try in 160 minutes, the last 2 games at Suncorp Stadium, and the only try scored by Queensland is when New South Wales had 12 men. That's a concern. Right. The biggest concern is the defence, first and foremost, being far more physical and effective. Secondly, you've got to be able to you build more pressure through your attack, and only one try in 160 minutes at Suncorp is not ideal. Now, this is what Billy Slater had to say post-game about selections.
Oh, that sort of stuff, like every game. You sit down and you review it and you go and take a breath and you let the players go back and play footy. They've got a couple of games over the next week and a half, and that's not a decision or probably a conversation for now.
Yeah, so I don't think he'll make too many changes at all. We've got a lot of people with a lot of suggestions coming through. We're going to get to those throughout the next 2 hours as well. But he's got some concerns more about, again, I'll keep using that word physicality, the physicality component of the game.
That's what they just didn't seem intimidating at all.
Yeah.
And that's what Queensland, particularly their forwards, are known for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 365, as Dave says, boys like to give Mitch Barnett a rap for his Origin performance. Yeah, I agree. These players that go back to their club, that's when they prove that they're Origin players. I love it when players back up, when they back up and they put in a performance that rivaled what they brought on the Wednesday night as well. That's a sign of a true professional when it comes to the game. Not resting on your laurels. The worst thing you do when you go back to clubland is protect yourself from not being picked in the second Origin game. Your form drops. If you don't play at full throttle, you get injured as well. So it's going to be a big test over the next couple of weeks. DCO is better than the other three spine members. Why is the only one under the pump? Age, Andrew says. Well, number 7 is seen as the conductor, so probably that's why the most amount of pressure, and he's the captain as well, so it's natural. Hey, let's get to a break here, and we're going to dive into last night's Friday night game with special guest Dragons assistant coach Dean Young. Yeah, welcome back to Saturday League Kickoff, simulcast live on Fox League and also live through the entire SEN network as well for Winghouse, and they do State of Origin Best. You can book now to watch Origin number 2 as well in any of your Winghouse outlets. Now, before we get to our very special guest, Paris Steve says, come on, fellas, what are Queensland going to strike back with? Their handbags. New South Wales didn't get out of second gear. It's a whitewash. Beat it, Paris Steve. That's what I say, beat it.
We're just trying to be positive.
Now, they had a good win last night. If you want to have a say, 1300 01 1170. If you're a Dragons fan or a Knights fan, we want to hear from you. And proudly brought to you by Temper, because you need a very good sleep overnight. We're going to find out who would have had a really good night's sleep overnight for the Dragons with Dean Young, the assistant coach of the Dragons, joins us on Saturday League Kickoff. How are you, Dino?
Good, guys.
Now, 20 points to 6, and you got Val Holmes backing up. And during this Origin period, you got to try and get as many points across the board as much as possible, as quick as possible, Dino. But last night, probably impressive was that you only conceded one try, and it was late.
Yeah, we thought our first half, we played some really good football and defended really well. We were hoping to go out in the second half and put them away, but they probably hung around a bit longer than what we would have liked, and we left 2 tries out there. We dropped 2 balls over the try line, so probably felt like 32-6 would have been a more accurate scoreline, but we'll take the win, and we know we've got to move on pretty quickly because we're going to be playing a good Dolphin side next Friday.
Absolutely. Dean, what was the reaction from you guys when you heard that Kalen Ponga wasn't going to be playing?
Oh, look, we're obviously pretty happy because he's a world-class player, but we knew if we didn't run hard and tackle hard, it wouldn't have really mattered if Kalen played or he didn't. So we pretty much told the team and then moved on pretty quickly. We know that Sharp's a real handful, especially on kick returns, so it was really important that we focused on our kick chase. Even though Ponga wasn't going to be there, Sharp can beat defenders quite easily as well. So I thought the boys did a reasonable job on him.
Hey, Dino, when it comes to players backing up from Origin, and Val did last night, and it didn't look like he was affected at all, to be quite honest. There's some really good involvements, but who makes the decision? Is it collaborative between the player coach? Is it the performance staff? Who decides who backs up 2 days later?
Yeah, look, firstly, you've got to see how the player pulls up from the Origin game and whether they've got any niggles or pick up any injuries. But once you get through that process, I suppose you've got to assess where you are in the season. And I think all clubs would love to rest their Origin players throughout the year because, you know, we're asking so much of them to play at that intensity on Wednesday night and then back up 2 days later is a big ask. But I think with where everyone's sitting in the competition at the moment, it's so tight. I don't think many teams can really afford to leave their best players out. And Val had some nice touches, but he also had some moments in the game that he wouldn't have been happy with. But I can assure you we're all very happy that he decided to back up for us because when someone like him stands next to you, everyone feels more confident.
Dean, there's some great performances across the board. We were just saying earlier in the show, David Clemmer wound back the clock, and so did Jack DeBellin in many ways. You must be very happy, or Flano and the coaching staff must be very happy with the way your pack stood up last night.
Yeah, Clem's been outstanding since he's arrived. I didn't know him before he joined us, but he's just really, really professional. He's got a fair bit of old school about him. He's one of those blokes, if the meeting starts at 8, he's sitting there at 7 o'clock ready to go. And we've got some really good young forwards at the club coming through. You've seen a couple of them this year, and Hamish Stewart and Dill Egan, and obviously the both Couchmans, young Loco. And we've got a lot more underneath them as well that haven't played first grade. So it's important you surround those young, talented players with guys that have done it and lived it and breathed it, and Clem's certainly done that. So we asked a lot of him last night because we lost Jaden Sewer early, so that pushed everybody a bit further out, and Clem put his hand up and, like you said, he wound back the clock.
Yeah, it was a good try by Jaden Sewer. Now, you just mentioned young Loco. So What's the mindset from the coaches, Dino, around a young player like that? He's only, 19 or 20 years of age, hasn't been exposed to a lot of NRL. Do you try and keep him to a specific amount of numbers, like minutes on the field, or do you just see how he's going throughout the game and make a decision then?
Well, first of all, with the process, when any young player comes into your full-time training and into your squad, before you get an NRL jersey, you've got to earn it. And Loco's got a lot of talent, and we said from day one in pre-season at training, he carries the ball like an elite NRL forward, but defensively, he had some things he needed to work really, really hard on, and he had a good 8-9 weeks in reserve grade to do that. And to his credit, anytime you give Loco any sort of direction around areas he needs to work on, he really buys into it. And he defended really well in New South Wales Cup, and that's what earned him the opportunity to play in first grade. And when it becomes on minutes, you never really want to expose young guys too much, but we've shown this year that when you give them opportunities, they really want it and they don't want to let you down. And we've played Dylan Egan and Hamish Stewart huge minutes this year because you put them out there and they keep getting the job done. So Loco's doing a really good job for us, come off the bench either side of half-time, and he's only going to get better.
Dino, everyone keeps talking about Gutho and his influence on the club and how well he's how he's just been a great fit for the Dragons. Can you just give us a bit of an insight to what that means, why he's been so influential for the club since arriving?
I think with Gutho, it's just the standards that he holds himself to. Like day one, we know that he's getting on a bit in age, and he's played a lot of football. But day one of pre-season, we got the boys to run up Mount Kira, which is a fair hill down in Wollongong, and he's first past the post, and it just shows how competitive he is and what sort of standards he holds himself to. So that rubs off on everybody else, and he's such just a positive guy. Like, he bounces into training every single day, with a great attitude, full of energy, and we're so lucky to have him because not only is he set up a fair few tries for us this year, but he stopped so many, and you only have to go back 2 weeks ago to tackle Payne Haas, 5 metres out from your try line when he's coming 100 miles an hour. Him and Jaden Sewell to stop him there to get the win is just, huge for us.
Yeah, those sort of personalities, it's infectious, isn't it, amongst a big playing group, and there's so much stress involved. Hey, you mentioned young Hamish Stewart, Dino. I try and compare players, not to where they are in their careers right now, but just compare their styles, purely just their styles. And I watch him, I'm trying to figure out who he plays like, and the closest person I can come to is a young Ben Kennedy when he was at Canberra and going through Newcastle. He's what they call one of those old-fashioned sort of loose forwards. You could throw him in the middle, throw him on the edge. You can do whatever you need to do with him, and he just seems to show up.
Yeah, he's been great. He's sort of his journey, young kid from down in Gerringong, and he's had to fight to get to where he is. Like, he wasn't a out-and-out superstar coming through the under-16s or 18s. He was in those squads, but didn't have a lot of hype around him. But, he's just a real footy head and great kid and just wants it so bad. But he can play on the edge, but I think his best spot's locked forward, and he's got unbelievable ball skills. We've just only seen some of them, but you'll see a lot more in the coming years. He's got a great catch, great pass, and he's a great decision maker with the ball in his hand. So he really links us up quite well to get, we've got a fair bit of strike out wide with Sewer and Luciano and Val and Sully. So he's really important to link up with the halves to make sure that we're getting the ball to the strike out wide.
You've had a good couple of weeks, Dino. 2 back-to-back wins for the Dragons and New South Wales winning Origin 1. Can you just give us a little bit of an insight into how things went in the New South Wales camp?
Yeah, it was an unbelievable experience. I worked with Laurie Daly in the Indigenous All-Stars. I was his assistant coach in Indigenous All-Stars back in 2020, I think it was. So to get the phone call to ask if I wanted to be a part of his staff in this year's series, I was just so excited to jump on board. You looked from afar last year, and I was so proud watching the boys play the way they did, being 1-0 down and fighting their way back to win the series. And up in Brisbane, I was very proud, New South Welshman. So to be involved this year has been outstanding. They're a really good group in terms of they're just so tight and connected, and it's hard probably for Laurie Daly, myself, and Craig Bellamy coming into camp on the back of a winning series because, you know, they've obviously built something there, but we just wanted to come in and be ourselves and try to add to the program and prepare the players the best way we could, and hopefully they felt like that, and it was obviously good to get the win on Wednesday night.
Yeah, no, it was a very impressive lineup when they went to the coaches' box and you see everyone in their light blue jackets. It was a pretty impressive lineup, Dino. You're one of a good crew there. Now, before we let you go, Dino, congratulations on the win last night and also Wednesday night. For temper, a great night's sleep, night after night, that's the difference. Is there a player last night that you can, probably from a coach's perspective, vote who would have had the best night's sleep last night?
I reckon our old mate Clemmer might have slept well last night. To play the first 40 minutes at his age and then go out and punch some more minutes out in the second half. He got through them out into work and did a really good job for us. And I'm tipping once his head hit the pillow, it would have been good night. And until early this morning when his young boys would have been bouncing all over him, first thing ready to go at footy.
What about the coach, Flano? I noticed on the coverage he was very animated in that box.
Yeah, he wouldn't have slept.
He looked very cranky for a winning coach.
No, that was calm.
Too good.
Great stuff. Hey, Dino, thank you very much, mate, on a Saturday morning. Well done last night, and again, well done after Wednesday night. And you got a big month ahead, so I thank you very much for joining us on the show.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, coming up next, we're going to get to your text messages, talk about the news of the week, but let's get to the news. Oh, welcome back to the show. Webby singing a bit of Cliff Richard in the break.
It.
Hey, thanks for your text. 0457 736 736 is the text line, and also 1300 01 1170 if you want to give us a call about Origin, Dragons fans, Knights fans, whatever it may be. Cliff Richard.
Sats was singing Wide for Sound by Cliff Richard at the start before we went on air, and now it's in my head.
That film clip,
it's a ripper of a
the
song.
film clip of
That's
him
what you want.
with the
with the
headphones, a little.
That's on the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Just a surfers paradise.
There we
That's
go.
him. That's him.
Pete, how
That's
good.
him.
Yeah, on his
Up
roller
and down,
skates.
up and down the beach.
I've been known to be on my roller skates along Surfers Paradise
I'm sure.
back in the day.
I'm sure.
No shirt, just a pair of Speedos. That's it. Hey, this is the Sultana Man, proudly sponsored by Callaway Golf. Nice little plug there for Callaway. If Billy Slater was a colour, what would it be? I'm saying beige with a tinge of vanilla.
Meow.
Yeah, meow.
I'm gonna give Billy a rap. When I was
Yep.
on Channel 9, when I've been on Channel 9
Yep.
the last few years on the footy show, and if he lost a game like earlier in the week, like the coaches take it so seriously, as you can imagine, it's Origin. But he always was backed up. He always fronted up, but he always was nice enough to you. He wouldn't sulk. He took it well. He was always a professional. So I know they talk about what was his nickname at Melbourne? They call him Dory from Finding Nemo, because as soon as something bad would happen, he'd just forget it. He used to do it as a player, and I'm sure he's doing that, or hopefully he's doing that as a coach.
Do you know, I think I read it in your book with Wayne Bennett, the way that different coaches handle defeat and the image you need to put up for your players, and I think it was during that COVID period when the games were being played sort of a week on week, and they lost one of the games.
They lost the second game. Remember,
Wayne walked into the dressing shed. Everyone thought he was going to be dire straits, but
that's right. And Wayne was sitting there, and they crossed to the camera in the dressing room, and here he is with his legs kicked back, joking with Cameron Munster and the players. But I also explored this in the book, and they got on the bus to go to the airport to go back to the hubs, and he said to Cherry Evans, he said, "Mate, I'm steaming with that performance, but I couldn't let them know because we've only got a week to get back up for Game 3."
Yeah,
so
it's important.
In an Origin series, it's so much of it comes down to the coaching.
Yeah, exactly. You're right,
and this is going to be fair. And this is a fair enough assessment. This is Billy Slater's biggest test as a coach, not just about how he gets him up again, but what he does with his team.
Yep. Origin's about mind games and how you make your players feel. A lot of the time, because physically they're ready. They're good enough to play Origin. It's just a mind game. It's between the ears.
And that's why Wayne was so good at it, because that's how he operates.
Yep.
It's the mind games, playing with kids.
James from Bundaberg has said, "Love the show, guys. I watch it every week. The question is, what do you think the Queensland changes should be?" We're going to get to those as well. I don't think there's going to be a mountain of changes, barring injury.
Do you bring Big Red in, Corey Horsburgh?
I think, probably. There's Cohen Hess, who's big and physical and fast as well. There's Fini Fuiaki. There's Brendan Piakura, who's young and
Gordon
fearless.
Tallis.
Gordon Tallis, Shane Webke.
Mandela.
Hey, let's get into the big news of the week, and one of those is Lachlan Galvin, of course. The signing
Has
to
something
the
happened with
Bulldogs
Galvin this week?
officially.
I hadn't noticed.
That's official now. Now, to our Fox League viewers, I should say, they're seeing a photo of the official signing of Lachlan Galvin. The SEN listeners can't see it at the moment, but you can watch it back on KO, wherever you watch your Fox Sports shows back. And it's the photo of Lachlan Galvin on the extra money that he's getting, he could spend on a proper haircut because he looks like Lloyd Christmas from Dumb and Dumber. It looks like a bowl's been put in his head and they've just cut around the outsides.
Like a reverse Friar Tuck.
Exactly.
You know what? As someone who's been having to shave their head for the last 15 odd years,
Yep.
I'm actually quite offended by that, Lockie.
Yeah.
You could do better.
Yeah.
Do better with your haircut.
It's rude. That's what it is.
I'm glad it's all over. I'm glad it's all over, and because
Well, it's not over for yet. I mean,
I'm glad all the contract
Yeah.
circus is over, because we've got a 19-year-old kid who is an absolute gun,
Mm-hmm.
who obviously has been able to play through, for most of it, play at a high level.
Yep.
I'm very interested to see what he can do in a blue and white jumper. I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out, how Cameron Serrato first brings him in, how he uses him, and what effect it has on the rest of the team, and whether it suddenly just is that little bit of the icing on the cake that they needed to possibly win the premiership this
Well,
year.
Cooper Cronk last night on Fox Sports, Fox
14.
League, he said, no, New South Wales Cup.
He said start him in New South Wales Cup.
Start him in New South. I can see that from a.
He also flagged him starting as a 14.
I think that'd be fine.
Brandy Alexander was not impressed.
No, he throws
said
him
no.
straight in. Well, mate, if you've got good players, that's going to make your team better, you just got to find a position for them. That's what it is. So it wouldn't surprise me if he started after 2 or 3 weeks at 13 with Jamin Salmon going down for a long period of time. And
Gotcha.
sort of is involved. He doesn't have to defend in the middle because locks don't always defend in the middle. You can put a lock wherever you want defensively. So I think that would be a solution as well. But New South Wales Cup is an interesting one because you don't want to sort of upset everything that's been going so well for the first half of the season to the point where you're just going to drag someone in. But like I said, he's a good player and he's going to make your team better.
I loved. Now let's get to how it all came out yesterday.
Yeah.
So footage emerged through the fence at Belmore of him, training in a Blues in a Blues jumper.
Well, it was going to happen
in a Bulldogs jumper. It was so it got leaked by a fan website, a Bulldogs Instagram account called Bulldogs Fans, and it came out. They weren't to know that the contract was done. They wasn't done yet. They didn't know that it had yet to be registered. They didn't know that there was still a bit of toing and froing between the Tigers and the Bulldogs. Anyway, the Bulldogs were furious with this fan and had blocked him on their Instagram and
A fan,
and accused him of almost unsettling the whole thing. I would suggest that maybe the Bulldogs shouldn't have had Lachlan Galvin fronting up at Bulldogs training and appearing before the deal was finally done.
But you know what? I mean, I know, whatever the communication was, whether it's, you put the club in a bad situation. You and I are talking off air. The fan doesn't know whether the club has been registered.
No, of course not.
So, they're just excited about a good young player coming to the club. It's going to happen eventually. He's going to come to training. Who cares whether the contract's been signed or not? Turn up at training. And I liked your comments the other day with Buzz. Buzz would be frothing about this. That Michael Shamus has taken the reins. But in saying that, I agree with your comments the other day, Webby, where on your podcast when you said, just own it. Like, he's at training.
Right. Yeah,
he's
that's
at
right.
training.
That's right.
He's going to play here. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Just own it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And look, and people think that we're there's a pylon of Gus, and that's true to some extent, but we're just sort of calling out the some of the weird statements that come from Gus in the last year about Lachlan Galvin. I reckon Gus is an evil genius. Because we're all, it's so easy to go, well, he said this here and this is what he's saying now. And, Gus doesn't care. I know he looks like he cares and I know he fires up about it, but Gus got his guy. He got Lachlan Galvin, the hottest prospect in the game, and he wrenched him out of the West Tigers midway through his second last season. Like it's and as I said, it's like it's transformed them into or it's that little extra layer that's going to help them possibly win a comp this year. So, that's just the ruthless game that the rugby league is, and it's the system. It's the way the contract system is set up. It's how the anti-tampering rules are set up. That clubs are going to push those rules to within an inch of their life to get what they want, and that's exactly what Gus has done here. So you can't be critical of what he's done. I'm mainly more critical of the NRL for letting it happen.
Yeah, and that's always going to be a topic of discussion, isn't it? Because, I'm going to reverse engineer this and say about Phil Gould. And we can talk about the Phil Gould and Michael Shamus, debate last Monday night, which is riveting to watch.
It's good TV.
It was. But when it comes to rugby league operations, it's about strategy, it's about leverage, it's about deception. With strategy, you've got to future-proof yourself. And when it comes to leverage, how can we convince marquee players to come to our club and make us better? And then you've got to be deceptive. You've got to be able to do it in the shadows. You've got to be able to do it without the media finding out about too much of what's going on within your operation. You've got to do that the best way you can in a modern world, which is really difficult to operate in. So the art of rugby league operations is a difficult one. And I think Gus has done it better than most. The problem is, because he's on the media, he gives himself the ability to be cornered and to be asked a lot of questions, more so than other general managers of rugby league that aren't as accessible as what he is.
But he also uses that platform to
absolutely
to pitch up for Lachlan Galvin as he does. He can use his media platform to put pressure on the NRL when he doesn't get what he wants. I've explored all this in a big piece in the Australian earlier this year where, you could see it last year. He was basically goading the NRL to fine him. And then he eventually did. Then they eventually did, and then Andrew Abdo backed away from it and wouldn't suspend it, or wouldn't make it. It made it a suspended fine. Sorry. So it's not. Gus is a big personality, and those big personalities are going to get a lot of scrutiny, and that's what happened this week.
Yep. But he's been around the game long enough. He can put the flak jacket on, and he's a
winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Everywhere he's gone. He wasn't there when he's won back-to-back. He won 2 premierships at both Canterbury and Penrith. He set up the Roosters for success. He set up Penrith for success, and now he's setting up the Bulldogs for success.
You can't
knock him.
If you want to win, you got to strategize. You got to have leverage. You got to be deceptive, and he's very good at all of them. Now, can I beat my chest a little bit?
You can.
Okay. I like to think I'm a pretty humble sort of guy. I don't, but this is now.
You are a very humble guy.
I'm just
so
reading.
Now you better wrap yourself.
I'm reading the day here. Sports Day with Matty Rogers and Scotty Sattler during the week, 6 to 8 on SEN and the Super Radio Network. Now, April 15, I'm going to play a grab from our show. Have a listen. Who does the agent or Lachie Galvin have a relationship with at a club, or who does the agent need to build a bridge with?
Right.
Because they can use the player as the key to the door.
Yeah.
If they haven't had a good relationship previously with a club and they want to try and rebuild that, the player is the key to open that opportunity.
Yep.
But I've done a little bit of searching.
I just to let you know, I despise that mentality.
Yeah, well, so do I. So do I. But he went to, Westfield Sports High.
Mm.
Now, Luke Vella he was a teacher coach at Westfield Sports High when Lachie Galvin was there, I think. He's now part of the coaching team at the Bulldogs.
Right.
Do we sort of...
You're doing the...
we're doing the odds.
Rugby league maths.
We're doing the odds. I'm sort of saying the Bulldogs have gone from maybe $2.90, $3 into maybe $1.35.
Mm.
Yeah, so there is a strong connection there from all reports. That goes a long way with the relationship between Luke Vella and Lachie Galvin, post his schooling years as well.
Yep.
And they're a club on the up, and they're a club that probably the closest to a premiership window than Parramatta. There you go. That's a mic drop. If I could pick this mic up and just drop it, I'll drop it.
What do you like anything at racing-wise today, or what?
Gamble responsibly, always.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the Bulldogs finally get their man, Parramatta. We're led to believe that he changed his mind on a Friday night. I don't think that's the case at all. I think he was always going to go to the Bulldogs. Now, the Australian coach, I want to touch on that before we get to the break. So, if Mal Meninga is named as the inaugural coach of the Perth Bears, we're hearing Mal Meninga, Matt King, assistant.
Did Matt King's in the mix?
The whole Dolphins model with Christian Wolf and Wayne Bennett mentality. I'm not sure whether, I don't know why Mel wants to do this at 64, 65, the travel.
It's exciting.
rugby league operations and coaching is a 24-hour job. He's about to take on this huge load, and he knows rugby league better than most. But that therefore probably makes the Australian Kangaroos job vacant also. So what are we hearing if that's going to be the case? Let's say we're fast forward a week or so and it is Mal Meninger's the inaugural coach and he has to step away from the Kangaroos job. Who are the candidates? I'm saying Freddie Fittler would be outstanding.
Brad Fittler, this is what who they're looking at. Brad Fittler, Kevin Walters and Cameron Smith. But Wayne Bennett in the last 24 hours has indicated that he's keen on it and South Sydney won't stand in his way.
Wayne Bennett?
Yeah. Yeah, they're usually very loath, as we know, to let a club coach look after a rep team, particularly an Australian team. But I actually really like it. I think you need someone of Wayne's stature for the Kangaroo Tour at the end of the year and possibly the World Cup at the end of the year 26, end of next year. I like the model in which Cameron Smith is an assistant to Wayne and then you can hand it over to Cameron. Because I think Cameron would make a great representative coach and there's nothing he doesn't know about the game.
Short-term coaching, it's completely different to a seasoned coach where you've still got to do a lot of research on your players. You've got to do a lot of research on the players off the field, talking to club representatives, what they're like around a playing group, what's their personality like. They may be a really good player, but are they going to fit the mix if you're going overseas for long periods of time when you're living in each other's back pockets as well? It's short-term coaching is really it's a lot of people would think it's an easy gig, but it's not. It's a tough gig to be able to cram so much work into a small space of time, and that's where your Frank Panisi like people are really important to make sure that they can drag all that program together.
Yeah, that's right. It's they're two really big tournaments. The Kangaroo Tour at the end of this year. We've been waiting on it for so long, and I know what Wayne's like. He'd love the history of the game and the thought of coaching Australia at Wembley included on a Kangaroo Tour. He would be frothing, as you would say, to do the job.
Kane on the text line before we get to the end of the first hour here on Fox League and also SEN. Kane says, did anyone in the press conference ask Billy if they are still Queenslanders? He says, how good would Selwyn Cobbo fit into the Raiders? Just saying, wishing. Oh, that's a wishing, yeah. So someone may have to give there at the Broncos with their salary cap. Hamish will play Origin. If I was Riles, I'd be getting him to Parramatta as well. He's a very good player, And as we get to the end of the first hour, Josh says Tino, Grant, Harrigan, Nane, Sewer, Cotter, front row, forward pack, I should say, Dearden, Collins, Horsburgh, and also Fermor should be the forward pack and the bench for Queensland going into game 2. Hey, this is Saturday League Kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster. That's the end of the first hour. Make sure you stick around. And also, if you want to have your say, 1300 01 1170 is the number. We'll see you very soon. Yeah, welcome back for the second hour of Saturday League Kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster is back in the house. And if you missed
coming up some zingers.
You are. So what have we got? Richard from Melbourne. Thanks for watching and listening, Richard. Love your saying, Webby, legs between their tails. It's like wings beneath their wind?
Can I just explain this? By the time I get to this show at the end of the week, I reckon I've been talking and writing words ad nauseum for about 6 days.
Yeah. And we don't feel for you at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, if you missed the first hour, you can get the podcasts. If you go to the SEN app, download the SEN app and you'll get the podcast of the first hour of the entire show as well. We spoke to Dean Young, New South Wales assistant coach, and also the Dragons assistant coach for their good win last night. Big news of the week, Galvin, who's a new Australian coach, getting a lot of text coming through on that as well. 0457 736 736 is the number. And if you want to give us a call, 1300 01 1170. And, also the judiciary. Is there something coming out of last night?
The report's just dropped. The beat hasn't dropped. The judiciary report's just dropped. Leo Thompson for that crusher. 4 weeks he's looking at. 4 weeks because his third and subsequent offence. He's looking at 4 weeks, 5 if he contests at the panel. I got to say, I didn't think it was a great crusher.
It wasn't. I mean, it was one of the more
obvious ones.
I don't think anyone deliberately commits to a crusher. I think it's just the position they get them in. That was a little bit more controlled, but 4 weeks.
It's pretty dangerous.
I know, but
if it's the third offence,
I know,
that's
but
why.
I'm not a big fan of because and don't bring social into this. It's just
It's a
purely
grade
sport.
2 crusher.
Grade two, but
two.
I don't agree with the whole. Just say he's had a careless grade 1 and he's had another careless grade 2, and then he does a crusher. That you're suspending him on all 3. If he's had a history of crusher tackles and he's got to change his style, fine, sit him out and tell him to be better. But to load him up based on other ones, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Yeah,
You know what? I'm going to disagree. Because
you can.
Well, I will. And because I'm right. I thought when I watched it last night, I thought it was a really bad tackle. What was the one the other week? What was the one week before?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, there was one in Magic Round. I know that.
Yeah. What was it? Gosh.
Yeah.
Work. Anyway, I just think it's a really bad tackle. You know what I want. But that said, though, the NRL seemed to go too far, where there's any contact with the upper body to the back of the neck, and they'll go, that's a penalty or that's a week. I think they go way too far. But those ones, they're the ones that they've got to get out of the game because they are very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I don't think anyone intentionally does it. It is dangerous. We know that, but I don't think anyone intentionally does it. We're coming up. We're going to get to the Saturday footy, the games across Sunday as well. Take your calls, all your text messages as well. And it starts off today with the Titans hosting the Storm. We're covering that for SEN League as well. We're talk about Ponga, whether we would have arrested him, and we don't really know the situation, but we'll talk about that as well. But let's get to our call line, 1300 01 1170. Thanks to Winghouse, who do State of Origin better. Make sure you book now at Winghouse. And we've got Wally on the line. How are you, Wally?
How you going, guys?
Going very well, pal.
Wally.
So where are you based, Wally? Bankstown.
I'm right next to Bankstown.
Yeah, good
first of all, I want to say that thank you for putting me on the show. I think it's fantastic that you allow people to interact with you live.
Thank you. We love you calling up, Wally, and texting as well. So what's on your mind?
Look, I'm a crazy St George fan. I'm very happy, very excited that they got 2 wins on the trot. But Terrell Sloan, who I'm a massive fan of normally, I mean, he's elusive and in speed that most players don't possess. Just his effort level lately this year. I know he's playing out of position, he's on the wing, but his effort level, I mean, going up for the bomb, doesn't compete enough. I mean, he allowed Nathan Lawson yesterday, who had a fantastic debut. He allowed him to go onto his side several times yesterday and take the first hit up on Terrell Sloan's side. To me, that sort of speaks volumes about, I don't know if it's his confidence or his effort level, I don't know what it is. A few weeks ago against Manly, he gets a ball, he gets in the clear, chips over the top.
Oh, he's cut out there, Wally. He's dropped
cross.
out. Oh, there he is. You there, Wally?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Keep
Sorry,
going,
keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, a few weeks ago, there was something that he gets in the clear, chips over the top, doesn't get the bounce that he wanted to get, and DCE comes across, sockers the ball, and just gives up on the chase, and DCE picks up the ball and runs another 30 metres. I just notice, I don't know if anyone else is noticing his effort level doesn't see enough for first grade.
Look, yeah, I know what you're talking about, and I think Sloan is he's a work in progress in many ways. I think him moving out to the wing, I think it's been really important for him. He seems to got a lot more confidence with now that he's not at fullback.
Yep.
You know, that Clint Gutherson is in that role, and it allows Sloan to move to the wing and
Would you agree?
learn.
Would you agree? It's a little bit like a Luke Phillips, Anthony Minicello,
Very much so,
Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
That's very much what it feels like, and I think
Yeah.
it's the right move. And to me, that just shows you how experienced Flano is as coach.
It's all about maturity in the player, isn't it?
Yeah,
Some
that's
people
right.
mature, Wally, a little bit later than others. I'm with you. I'm a huge fan of Tyrell Sloan. I think you've got to have him in the side because he's got a lot more upside than downside.
You can't not pick a player with
Exactly.
that amount of speed.
Yeah.
You know, but you're right. He's still learning the game.
Yep. Kurt Mann, Crusher. Is that it?
Was it? No,
457?
no. Which one am I thinking about? It was a really bad one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, love your text messages coming through.
So bad I can't remember who did it.
Gents, why are you all peddling the DC as the biggest issue facing Billy? What about Cameron Munster? What about he's about as useful as an ashtray on a motorcycle, Charlie says. Well, I'd have Cameron Munster in any one of my sides any day of the week. We have got a text here about, have you had a look at the stats on who missed the tackles in State of Origin? So earlier on I was saying in Origin 1, 80 missed and ineffective tackles collectively for Queensland. So that's your first point of call when it's Billy Slater. It's not how many points we didn't score, it's how we couldn't defend, especially through the middle of the ruck. There were some bad misses. Harry Grant had about 5. He's the first to admit he didn't have a great game. Cameron Munster has been listed as 10. There's Paddy Carrigan at 7 as well. So there's a lot of those key players that missed a lot of tackles. I thought Laurie Daly and the coaching staff did a great job on Cam Munster. They worked him over defensively. They just got him to do as much work as possible defensively. And then by the time he had the ball in his hand, he wasn't deep enough. He wanted to try and play flat. He's fatigued. I've been asked to do a lot of work, and then therefore you become a little bit more ineffective.
I think it's an age thing, I think it's an age thing with DCE in many ways.
Not Munster, DCE.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I just think, and like Munster's got so many runs on the board at that level, and DCE's 36. He's, he didn't have a great series last year, and father time catches up with everybody.
Yep.
He looked a little bit. There's an old saying in boxing that how a boxer can look old in the space of one round. And that's exactly how he looked. I'm thinking about the crusher tackle from Liam Henry, Penrith's Liam Henry last week.
I was too, yeah.
It was a shocker, and that wasn't good. He only got two matches for that.
I've always used that the saying with the boxing saying, you can age in one round. In rugby league, you can age in one pre-season because you're fronting up from November, December. You put through some pretty grueling exercises, and when you get to sort of it's a lot later now. Once upon a time, it was sort of early 30s. Now it's sort of your mid 30s. Now and whether you are able to strategize the coaching of the older players, which a lot of clubs do, it's still very tedious turning up doing contact. Contact's a big thing at pre-season now and training, so. It takes a lot out of you. Hey, thanks, Wally, from Bankstown for giving us a call. Yeah, you're right, 380, Liam Henry, crusher tackle. Now, SEN League coverage from 2 p.m. this afternoon after crunch time. The Titans up against the Storm, 3 p.m. is the kickoff, 2 p.m. for SEN League. Seabus Super Stadium is the host. Now, Origin Stars rested, which is Harry Grant, Xavier Coates, aren't going to play. And Cameron Munster, from all reports, stayed behind, and so did Trent Lairo. But and for the Titans, Tino Fasul-Malaawi was the player that he had to get stitches, quite a big gash on his eye. Decide whether he plays or not. I think he will. I don't think he'll be rested as well. But we've got a question here from Sean on the Gold Coast. Sats and Webby, long-suffering Titans member here. They've been through 4 coaches and their defence is still woeful. Why do you think Desi hasn't improved their defence? I just think it's come down to Sean. I think it's primarily they've got to get their recruitment and retention right. They've got to do a lot more research and due diligence on the players they sign, and what's the primary goal of that player? Like, what's their philosophy about playing? Like, what is their genuine focus about playing first and foremost? Other clubs have a little bit more time to do their research on players, and some clubs like the Titans at the moment, I feel as though sometimes they can jump the gun a little bit too early to get to a player that everyone's possibly looking at, instead of sort of giving themselves time, do a little bit more research, and have faith in what you want to stand for as a player that you want to sign. So, they're going to go through that process, I think, and they've got to get it right. And Desi's contracted till the end of next year, then who knows what's going to happen there. And they've got some decisions in their favour from what we're reading, but they also don't want to be seen as a club that's continuing to sack coaches.
And they seem to just be mediocrity is what happens every season with them, isn't it? And then when they start showing glimpses of what they're capable of, they let themselves down with some pretty poor performances.
Yeah,
pretty poor losses.
Exactly.
It's I don't know. It's such a black hole, the Gold Coast. Why you live there?
Well, being a kid,
maybe it's you,
a kid that's grown up on the Gold Coast.
Why is it?
The Suns are going great under Damien Hardwick at the moment.
Sure.
Sitting inside the top 4. Their crowd attendances have risen this year because they're winning. The Gold Coast isn't about national teams. The Gold Coast is about events, and you've got to create the hottest ticket in town. And if you can create that, people will go. Well, they do. A lot of people in southeast Queensland and the Northern Rivers, they'll wake up on the morning of an event they'll make a decision about whether they're going to go or not. And you rusted on fans, of the Titans and let's say the Suns as well, who are members and they buy their tickets, they go along because it's a great family atmosphere and they just want to go and watch some rugby league. They may not be Titans fans first and foremost, but they've moved up from Sydney and maybe they're a Tigers fan or a Knights fan, whatever it may be. But it's about the event. And so you've got to create something that people want to go to. And at the moment, the Suns are winning. Their crowds have risen, like I said. Titans at the moment aren't getting the wins. But if they do, and it's been proven in years gone by when they've been playing finals and in those first 3 or 4 years when it's really exciting and they're winning games, it became a place where you were getting an average of 20, 21,000 people to a game in a stadium that holds 23 or 24,000. So it's not about the team, it's about the event. And you've got to win that space in the event.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a hard place to sit. It's a hard place to sit. Where in Sydney, you've got all these games you can go and watch if you're a rugby league tragic and go watch a Melbourne Storm who are used to winning, and if they're playing in Sydney, you want to go watch a good game of rugby league, they'll do that as well. So completely different markets. Now, Titans have lost 6 of the last 7 games. Desi Hasler, Jalen de Groot has gone back to fullback. I've said it before, he reminds me a bit of a young Gutho, Jalen de Groot. He's just involved in everything. He's a real competitor. Brimson to the 5'8". Kieran Foran's coming off the bench. Brian Kelly to the centres. And, well, the Storm, it's best to describe them. I don't think we've ever described them this way, but it's a bit of a roller coaster, aren't they?
Patchy.
Yeah, you're right.
I still think when it comes to the pointy end of the season, they'll be the team to beat. I think they need, if they can get through Origin relatively unscathed, I still think they've got so much class there and they're so well coached that they're still going to be the team to beat up there with... I still think the same of the Broncos. I know where they're coming from a long way back, but they've got too much class there and too many good players to not be firing at the end of the year. But yeah, you're right. You never know what Melbourne Storm you're going to get at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's very unlike Melbourne.
It would be frustrating, Craig Bellamy, no end, to a guy that has run such a tight ship and expects as close to perfect as possible.
They're a team that really prides themselves on winning the minor premiership.
Yep,
that's why they've won so many of them.
Exactly.
So, it's the inconsistency would be annoying, Craig.
Now, as we get to the break, 035 says the Titans' issue is a culture issue. There's not been a successful Gold Coast side to date. It seems as though it's a holidays destination for lazy players. And this is why I talk about doing due diligence on your playing list. You got to be really, you got to be conscious of the work you got to be put into it, and there's got to be a lot of depth to it as well. And different clubs are different. Gold Coast is completely different. You've got to be a little bit more strategic.
I might move to the Gold Coast.
We'll have you up there. We'll welcome you.
I feel like being lazy.
Yep. And Braden, who's a massive Gold Coast Titans fan in Perth, says, we've had a few changes today, Sats. Jaden Campbell being pushed to fullback as Tommy Weaver into the halves. Interesting to see how we go. Let's see how that team plays out a little bit later on when it's announced, Braden, an hour before kickoff. Have you say 1300 01 1170. Give us a call like Wally from Bankstown did earlier on about whatever you want to talk about. And we're going to get to, after the break, the continue of the Saturday countdown of all the matches today. Welcome back for the second hour. You got to keep good players. But I don't know where they fit them all in.
I'm not entirely sure whether you sign him for out to 30 is that prudent, to be honest.
Yep.
I don't know. What are they lacking? They're lacking a 7.
Yeah, well, it's easy. I mean...
But so's a lot of clubs.
Yeah. They've front-ended a lot of their salary cap into their forward pack, and that has left... AJ Brimson's on good money, but that's left sort of
a vacuum.
A vacuum sort of in those key areas in the back line, whether it's your halves, of course. And Kieran Foran, it wasn't ideal that he went down with that ruptured bicep, which is out for a number of weeks. And he's that experienced player you sort of needed.
They missed. To me, Foz seems like the important cog in that club.
Yep, he is, and wingers have become so important. They've got Lofi Khan Pereira. He's a known finisher. But having that, Jojo Fafita's a big winger as well. So Jojo Fafita himself has got to say, listen, I'm not a winger anymore. Can't believe I'm saying this. I hope Matty Rogers isn't listening. I've got to become another part of the forward pack. I've got to dominate. Like another forward. Like
it's
Zach Lomax
so interesting how much the game's changed.
Oh, it's...
Like Tahoe ran for, 220 odd?
Yeah.
And he had 10 minutes off the field. Crazy.
Okay, can we, before we talk about the Cowboys and West Tigers and Seagulls and the Broncos and Toto sin binning, right or wrong? Take your New South Wales full cap off.
I don't know. I don't know. Is it this year that they seem to, like, you know, you can't contest. You're contesting the ball, but then you change your mind mid-air and then tackle someone. I don't know. You're the. Well, I'm going to throw it back to you as the ex-player. Can you change your mind that quickly?
Well, it's just reaction. It's just reaction. I'm going up to. I can't get it. So the first thing you do is you grab onto the nearest thing near you. It's just human reaction.
I don't think it's a professional foul.
No, when you're in mid-air like that, you don't have enough time to say, I'm not going to get the ball. Okay, I can't tackle him. Okay, I'm going to let him go, and I'm going to free fall.
I'm okay with the penalty. I wasn't that big on the sin bin.
Well, they usually don't like to do one or the other. They don't like to do both. They wouldn't like to give a penalty try and sin bin. It's either one or the other. So sin bin and penalty.
Just a penalty.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Well, we needed the 2 points, Queensland, so right on the stroke of half time.
It still wasn't enough.
I know. Hey, before we get to those games, 1300 01 1170 is our open line number. You right? Where'd it drop? We've got Danny from the Tweed Shire. How are you, Danny? I want to ask what part of the Tweed Shire, because there's some favourite parts of mine in the Tweed Shire. Doesn't seem to be there. We're going to see whether he comes through.
What's your favourite part of the Tweed Shire?
Pottsville.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So you just go Kingscliff, Casuarina, and then you've got Cabarita. Yep.
Good parts of the world, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. There he is. Danny. You got us?
I'm an old wombat, mate.
What, an old Warragamba wombat or what?
A Coogee wombat.
Coogee wombat.
Coogee wombat. Beautiful.
Nice.
I know a lot of the boys. I was a lower grade with South. Yeah.
Hey, Danny,
know,
what part of the Tweed Shire are you on?
Chinderah is down pretty close to Kingscliff, I suppose would be the best.
Just next to Fingal Head. Beautiful part of the world.
Yeah. It's a great place. I moved up here about 8 years ago, and
Yeah, good. So, Matty Sears' mum and dad used to have the news agent at Chinderah.
There you go.
There you go.
Good stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not there anymore.
No. Hey, so what's on your mind, Danny? What do you want to have a chat about? Origin?
Yeah. What's happened? The ladies' Origin.
Yes.
Now, when that lady went over the try line with the ball in her arm.
Isabel Kelly.
Yes.
Yep.
The rule is the elbow to the hand is part of the ball. So therefore, the ball did not have to touch the ground. It is actually a try. And when I played football, which I played quite a lot, as I said, I'm an lower grade Rabbitoh, new friends of yours, Bob McCarthy, etc. And yes, that's the rule. Have they changed the rule?
I don't know, Danny. I don't know whether the rule has changed, but I agreed with some of the commentary the other night, Danny, and thank you very much for the call, because it's a good point to bring up, is that I'm fine that the forearm, if you're not being challenged and you're trying to be held up, and so if you just score a try like Isabel Kelly did the other night, I'm happy for the forearm to be an extension of the ball. Now, the argument would be in last year's grand final, Jack Houth's try, forearm on the ground, ball on the top of the forearm. His own forearm is the only thing that is stopping the ball from touching the ground. So I'm happy for the try to be scored.
So am I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we should be disallowing tries that are tries.
Yeah. Graham Annesley, we know you're a fan of the show. 1300 01 1170.
Call
Felix,
in.
can you please give us a call and tell
us, even a text,
what the rule is?
Tweet us.
0457 736 736 is the number. Graham Annesley.
Actually,
anyone from the NRL Rules Committee.
He's a big TikToker, I heard. Graham Annesley.
Is he really?
No. You know what? When he's very. There is a rumour that Graham Annesley once, when he checked out of a hotel room, made the bed before he left the room.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
I do it sometimes myself.
You make the bed before you check out?
If I'm staying more than one night, so if I'm staying 2 or 3 nights, I'll make my own bed and won't get the housekeeping to come in. Yeah, so
I don't know if we can do this show together anymore.
that's a boarding school thing where you had to make your bed or you got strapped.
But it's a hotel room.
Yeah, I know, but it's just, it's
God,
habits.
what a
It's
goody,
habits.
what a school prefect.
I know.
We're getting wound up here for
Yep.
just having some personality on the
Yeah,
show.
and
Sorry.
let's talk about
Hang on,
the
let's get to this. Let's go to the game.
Cowboys up against the West Tigers, 5:30 at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. West Tigers, well, their first game without Galvin in Townsville. What do we think about the Cowboys? Again, they continue to fly
Under the radar.
really under the radar, like last year. They were the same last year when you saw last year's ladder at the end of round 27, and you thought the Cowboys are just outside the top four. And it's a sign of a good club when you got the ability to do that. So where are we at with the Cows at the moment?
I don't know. I find them very hard to read.
Sitting 8th on the ladder.
They are that, but
Yep.
I think that's a true indication of where they are this season. They, I know they've been chopping and changing. I like Purdue and Dearden as halves. He's a talent, Jackson Purdue. Some talk about him maybe coming into the Queensland team. Is that too early?
Yeah, probably. I think
capacity?
it is. Maybe. I think just physically at the moment, he's a physical kid. He loves getting involved heavily, but probably just physically at the moment, I think it'd be probably best to take him into the camp and let him experience it for a series and maybe bring him in next year.
They're a quality team. They've got a quality team and they've got a quality pack.
Yep.
Which you always need, obviously, in the NRL. I can't see the Tigers. I think the Tigers will certainly lift after what's happened to Galvin. It's all sort of been put behind them, and you could just tell by Benji Marshall's press conference yesterday that he's as tired of talking about it as anybody, and fair enough. So
I do.
It'll be interesting to see what sort of Tigers performance we get now that the Galvin saga is over and he's out of the club.
Pardon the pun. Okay.
Oh, don't say galvanised.
Yes,
That's
but
don't
I
say
love it.
galvanised.
I love it. I love.
That's about the fourth time I've heard it.
Am I that obvious?
Yes.
I do love how this whole situation has. What's another word for galvanised? You're a thesaurus. You're a wordsmith.
Not today. I just said you put your legs between your tails.
Yeah, how it's bonded this West Tigers playing group. I mean, for many, many years, if you're a West Tigers fan, you haven't had a playing group that's fought for the club. So I do like how that out of all of this, what has washed out is they've got a club that are all trying to head in the same direction. Now, one player.
I'm more interested to see if Terrell May is going to wear the crossbody bag over his jumper when he goes to play.
He should.
He should.
It's about a brand now. He's a brand.
Exactly.
Yeah, all these kids that are vlogging. Hey, but there's one player, while all this is going on with Lachie Galvin, sitting back, hopefully playing really well, and then just rubbing his hands, going, I don't care if he leaves the club, is Heath Mason. He replaces Galvin at 5'8". So he says, I don't care whether he goes. Go and do what you like. I want to play NRL.
And I love the Tigers.
Now, I know Lachie Galvin did put out a press release. He wishes all the best to his former teammates. I don't know whether he overly believes in that, because if he loved playing with them, he would have stayed there. Well, you would have, wouldn't you?
Very nice.
It's
a very nice
been
gesture.
offered an upgrade of next year of $1 million and play with the group.
He just didn't want to be there.
He just didn't want to be there. Seagulls up against the Broncos, 7:35 at 4 Pines Brookie as well. I don't know where to go with this one, because the Seagulls and the Broncos they've been basket cases. They have been. It's 9th versus 8th.
You flogged the poor old Sea Eagles and Broncos.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Madge, and I think, like you're saying, I think they'll come out the other end after Origin, but they've got to do it now. Do you know it's the first time, I think the playing group have sat back and waited for all the media to do all the work and all this apparent pressure on Madge, and they're tired because they've got to train too much, whatever it may be. Well, guess what? Your first-time, full-time rugby league players, get over it. But in saying that, I think all the attention, everyone's started to turn around now and look back on the playing group. I mean, you got Brandon Smith coming out on the Buy Round podcast a couple of weeks ago saying, it's on you, the players. Now, if Brandon Smith's telling you it's on you, the players... I
have to say that did make me laugh.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty profound. And I love it from Brandon Smith. I love how honest he is. So I think for first time in this whole process, I think everyone's turning around and looking at the playing group now saying, well, you've got to be the ones that get the Broncos out of this.
Well, as we've always said, it didn't work under Anthony Seibold, it didn't work under Kevin Walters, and now it's apparently not working under Michael Maguire, unless Pat Carrigan becomes a the captain coach.
Yep.
Like, how many more coaches are they going to go through before it's, they find the right one? I keep saying this, like, it is only the first year of Michael Maguire's tenure. Just let them turn things around. I remember interviewing Chris Anderson many, many years ago when he was at Cronulla.
Good man, Oates.
Yeah, and he said, and I remember he was going through similar heartache in the first few months at Cronulla, and he said to me, when he was coaching Halifax, they used to come up and the fans used to come up and give him pretend airplane tickets to fly back to Australia. And he said, and when they won the comp, he said, I didn't have to buy a beer for a week.
Yeah,
that's football. You got to give it time.
Yeah,
Broncos fans, let Michael Maguire work his magic. I'm mixing all my words around the wrong way.
yeah.
It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a word salad.
Geez, lucky you're not a journo where you need words are important.
No.
Hey, for Manly, Tommy Trebojevic, cork thigh. Jake Trebojevic still out. Siwa Takaaho calf strain. They've all been ruled out. Lehigh Hopewadi to fullback. Tommy Talau comes on the wing. And that proud Queenslander from New Zealand who played for the Maoris, Jesse Arthur's the fullback. Cobbo back to the wing. I like this. I like Jesse Arthur's the fullback. He gets the top speed really quickly. Mm-hmm. Cobbo takes a little bit more time to wind up. So for your kick chase, it's a little bit easier to try and nullify him a lot more. So I like it when Selwyn comes from his wing, gets a big arching run up, hits the ball on tackle 2 for kick return. But for tackle 1, I don't think it's the greatest alternative. So Corey Pakes returns to the starting hooking position, Billy Walters to the bench. Now I'm hearing Ben Hunt will be back sooner rather than later.
Right.
Yep. Anyone who's wondering, and we've had a couple of texts about my blue. Just looking up the camera up here, my blue Band-Aid. Do you know why blue Band-Aid? I went to a restaurant yesterday.
No idea.
Kingsley Steakhouse, beautiful steak.
You cut your
and I said,
finger.
why a blue Band-Aid? And they said, well, it's for the chefs, because if they've got a Band-Aid on their finger and it comes off, they can find it in the food. But that's a good, I didn't realise that was across the industry. Across the industry. There you go.
Well, what, they can't find it?
There you go. Hey,
so there's a blue Band-Aid in my suit.
Hey, we got Pedro the Rooster on the open line, 1300 0111 70. Pedro the Rooster from Petersham. How are you, Pedro?
G'day, Sats, Webby. Great show.
Pedro.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. Yep.
I want to make a comment on, I'm a Blues supporter, and I really enjoyed the win the other night, but I want to make a comment on the criticism of GCE and Munster. Now, as you guys know, the halves can't dominate unless the forwards dominated. And they just got stomped on Wednesday night. It sort of reminds me of the Mitchell Pearce days when our forwards weren't going forward and Mitchell Pearce got blamed for everything. I'm pretty sure that Munster missing those tackles is because Bellamy has got his fingerprints all over that.
Good point.
Run at him all night.
Yeah.
Run at him all night. So, yeah, as I said, I'm a Blues supporter, but I don't know if all the criticism can be, labelled straight at those two.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
fair
good point you make, Pedro. And as a half, any half will tell you when they've got time on their side, when their forward pack is just dominating, like Nathan Cleary, he had time to grab the ball straight in the line-up. He could double pump. He could do whatever he wanted to through the course of that game, and that's because his forwards were dominating. But also there's a component of being the halves to be able to change the momentum. How do we change the momentum on the run? We don't have to wait for the coach. We've got to change them. How do we do that? Do we spread it early and get to edges? Do we work down short sides? Do we kick early and turn the momentum of the game? All those things come down to the half. But a lot of it does come down to it, Pedro, and you are 100% right. Your forward pack's just got to dominate, and Queensland got out-muscled.
That's that great saying, when a team wins, the halfback gets too much of the praise.
Yep.
When a team loses, they get too much of the criticism.
Yeah, you're right. Now, let's get to a break, and on the other side, we're going to talk about the Sunday's triple header. But before we do that, 588, this is Benny, says, hey, guys, with Madge at the Broncos, didn't the same thing happen to the Dogs when players were saying their training is too hard? Now look at them. You just got to get through that. You've got to get through that period where you work out who's good for the club and who's not. And that's what they've done at the Bulldogs. Let's get to a break here on Saturday League Kickoff. Scotty Sattler, Andrew Webster. More after that. Yeah, this is Saturday League Kickoff, all brought to you by Winghouse, and they do State of Origin better, so you can book now at Winghouse for Game 2 of State of Origin. Screens everywhere. Nice wings with the bone. You've got to have the bone. You can't have the tender. That's That's for the yuppies and the millennials.
What, the no bone?
The no bone. Yeah, it's still nice, but I'm a bone man. G'day, Sats and Webby. Jeremy from Ipswich. Great show. Thank you very much. Everyone who's texted in, and we'd love to get to all the text messages. We can't get to all of them,
inundated.
but we want you to continue texting in each and every week because eventually the wheel turns, as Mario Fennick used to always say, the wheel turns. It turns. Do you think Selwyn Cobbo would be a good fit at the Raiders? Just wishing. Jeremy, Selwyn Cobbo would be good at any club. Yeah, it's fair to say. Steve, he's always so positive with these messages. Another outstanding show, fellas. Absolute radio and TV gold. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't know whether it's a backhand comment or not.
Do we get an Acra or do we get a
Logie?
Or a Logie? Maybe both.
Yeah.
Maybe double.
It's never
nomination.
happened before. It could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah. We are pioneers.
We are.
Fox League and SEN, this
Exactly.
collaborative show. We love it. We love all your interaction as well. So many texts to get to. Now, SEN League coverage starts from 1:58 p.m, not 1:55, 1:58 p.m. for the 2 p.m. kickoff. Rabbitohs up against the Warriors. I'm very intrigued about this game. Now, it's sixth place versus third. The Warriors have won 5 of their last 6 games, and they lost last week to the Raiders, Webby. But the difference with this Warriors side now is and they did this 2 years ago as well, but they've been able to get over that hump from last year.
Yeah.
The games they're losing, the majority of the games they're losing, other than that first game, they won in round 1, didn't they, in Vegas against Canberra?
They did, yes.
No, they got lapped by
They
Canberra.
got lapped by Canberra.
No,
They
but
absolutely got lapped.
last week.
And everyone thought, well, this is going to be a really
I know.
diabolical year for the Warriors off the back of what happened
But the loss last
year.
week-
But the way they bounced back was very, very impressive.
They're playing like a team. They're making teams work for their victories. And they had to do that last week, Canberra, as well. So they're going great under Andrew Webster. Now, the Rabbitohs looking for 3 straight wins after 4 straight losses as well. So we've got JFH is out, James Fisher-Harris for the Warriors, Rocco Berry. They're both going to return, from suspension and hamstring. Jamie Humphries goes up against Luke Metcalf. Plenty of matchups. I think the Warriors, they'll go into this game as favourites, but you just never know about who's going to back up as well.
No, if there's one thing you can say about South Sydney, we talk about a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
In Wayne Bennett's first year, for a club that was, hasn't been in a particularly good place for the last season or so, you're not going to beat them on heart.
Yep.
You can see that. It's very much a Wayne Bennett coached team. Whether they can make the 8 this year or not is debatable, but I wouldn't put it past them, considering, and also when you consider how many injuries they've had and just like uncertainty around their halves and all those issues that they've had throughout the season. I wouldn't be discounting South in this game at all.
Well, I think we get used to the Wayne Bennett coach sides, don't we? And the thing about Wayne
They're always
Bennett,
going to turn up.
well, it doesn't matter what number they got on their back. They've always got these really simple messages about what role they play in the game. And a lot of people, I'd love a lot of people to be able to, potential coaches, especially junior coaches who think they've got to overcoach teams and coach players in between that 13 to sort of 18-year-old age bracket. They think they've got to complicate the game and be and have this brilliance about the way the game is built from a tactical point of view. I'd love them to be able to have access to Wayne Bennett about how basic and simple his approach is to the game of rugby league. He
always says to me, the young men, and he goes, why would I overcomplicate the message?
Yeah. Yeah. So, our New Zealand viewers and listeners as well, what do you think about the Warriors? How do you think they're going at the moment? How do you think they're going to go against the South side? They're great at home. The sellout crowds have been amazing. How are they going to transfer that as well? They're travelling along beautifully at the moment. I'll just tell a quick story around. I was sitting on the end of the bed one time and we were being coached by Wayne, and I was rooming with Petro. And Petro walked past and he could see that I was confused. I had this quizzical look on my face. He said, "What's up?" I said, "When are we going to start breaking down the opposition? Like looking at, when are we going to start looking at, Joey and Matty Gidley and Danny Badiris, all these sort of players?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, we're sort of day 3 into a 10-day camp. We haven't even looked at the opposition." He said, "No, we won't look at them." He said, he'll just say, you got to play with a lot of energy, be there for your mate, play tough, make sure when you're asked, when you're called upon, make sure you turn up, and when Lockie wants the ball, give it to him. It's really, really basic. And throughout his whole career, he's had this philosophy around, not building up too much information in players' heads, because not a lot of players can take on a lot of information. So pretty easy game plan. You know what you got to do, and a lot of times it's been successful, not only as a team but as an individual player under Wayne Bennett. So who wins? Rabbitohs and Warriors.
I'm going to take the Bunnies at the price. There you go.
So just purely gamble responsibly.
Sorry. I'm just trying to find something for the fans.
So at the price, but if you're just a tipster.
Off the stick, then
Off
probably.
the stick?
Probably I'll take the Warriors because they've got Fisher Harris and Barnett back. How's that?
Okay, there you go. I think the Warriors, even though I'm a Bunnies man, I love my Bunnies.
Can I not give?
I'm just getting tangled up in all the chords down here.
We're trying to do a professional radio/TV program.
The Warriors are flying at the moment, so and depends whether Latrell backs up as well. I know they all get named at times and don't get named. They just deliberately rest them before the game's even played on Wednesday night.
What about the Trelmet mid-air catch and pass?
Oh,
as good as it gets.
I didn't think he had. I thought he was very quiet the other night. I thought defensively they sort of exposed him in a couple of areas. But in saying that catch and pass from the cutout ball from Mitch Moses, just to have the awareness and the experience to know that Xavier Coates is going to be jamming in on him, and to be able to catch and deliver it without even looking at Brian Tyler was incredible. It was beautiful to watch. Panthers versus the Eels, 4:05, Combank Stadium, SEN League aren't covering this, but of course Fox League cover every game over the weekend. Combank Stadium. Now, last place versus 15th. Whoever thunk it?
Who at the start of this season could ever have predicted that in round 13 Penrith would be rooted to the bottom of the ladder?
What?
Rooted to the bottom,
right.
planted to the bottom of the
I think
ladder.
the origin period will springboard these Panthers players in the back half of the season.
Well, it'll give them confidence.
I think it's exactly what the Panthers need, this origin series.
More football.
More football.
More tough football.
Getting paid a lot of money.
They could,
Get
you
used
know,
to it.
well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. You don't know what Penrith is going to turn up, do you?
Can we talk about Isaiah Yo's game the other night, just off the cuff?
He's incredible.
I know I love about his origin game.
What?
In years gone by, he's become that link player. He's just, in origin, I don't know whether
Just
Dave
bulldozed through, didn't he?
just said, I just want you to run the ball. He's 6'5".
I'm not a big stats guy.
His numbers were big.
Well, I'd like to know what his post contact meters were.
I think they were 72 metres. I think it was, and that was in the first.
You freak! How did you know that?
So the first 25, 30 minutes that he played, he was the most dominant player on the field. Ridiculous it was. Yeah, he's up around high 60s, early 70s, I think it was. That's the Rayman coming out of me a little bit. That's my son Jack coming out of me. Scott Sorensen returns from suspension. Isaac Tungor back into the centres. Eels aiming for 3 consecutive wins. Whoever thought? Parramatt and Steve from Dubbo. First time since 2023. And Panthers have lost all 3 games at CommBank, their new home ground this season.
Isaiah Yo's post contact meters was 68.
There we go. Wow.
Close.
It's pretty good for a guy that didn't play an entire game as well. So who wins this? Penrith?
I think so. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Parramatta.
So am I.
They're a great team to watch, but whether that's going to be enough to beat Penrith,
Isaiah
I'm
Yongi,
sceptical.
maturing beautifully. And the last game of the weekend, which is also covered by SEN League, the coverage from 6 p.m. for a 6:15 kickoff, Allianz Stadium. The Roosters up against the Raiders. The Roosters are about to be, they're going to be put through 80 minutes of absolute torture against this Raiders side, who are putting their hand up as a genuine premiership contender. If they don't get injuries, they can't afford any more injuries, like any side, but they've had this ability to lose Matty Nicholson. Well, if they throw in Simi Sasangi. They lose Hudson Young to Origin. They throw in Zach Hosking, and so they've had this good depth. They can't afford to lose any more, but they are just humming along beautifully. I love what Ricky's doing with the side.
It's incredible, isn't it? He's a polarising figure, Ricky, but you can't deny what he's done at Canberra this year.
Yep.
And you also could say the same about Trent Robinson.
Yeah,
for a development year, and it's funny how many clubs, if you talk to them on the down low,
yep,
how many clubs behind the scenes go, we're wary of the Roosters and what they can do this season.
Yep.
Which says a lot, considering after the loss to the Broncos in the first round, we were thinking, well, they won't get out of the bottom 4.
11th place.
And it's a good indication of what their academy that they've set up in the last 4 or 5 years can do. And it also makes you ask the question, why would you put Daly Cherry Evans into that system? Why wouldn't you back your junior academy to keep producing the players that it has so far and has them where they are at this point of the competition?
Yep. We've got a lot of our listeners that have texted through that exact thought. You know, Hugo Savala, Sandon Smith, who may be the one that has to move on because Connor Watson's there as that utility, or whether he's going to play that number 9, whatever it may be. What happens to Sandon Smith? Now, we talked about the Titans earlier on. People say they should go and get Sandon Smith. And well, that seems great. He's young. He's playing great footy in the halves. He's controlling a team. But it's a difference between playing in a team that's used to playing big games like Tedesco and co, and then saying, here's the keys to the team. You're going to go run the whole organisation from an on-field perspective. So they've got really good depth there. They've done a great job, Trent Robinson and co. And they're playing at 11th on the ladder. They're playing like a team, even though they're losing. They're playing at a finals-style game. Yeah, hard to beat, hard to play against.
Yeah,
yep.
They've done well. Well done, Chooks.
Josh Papali'i will equal Jason Croker's club appearance record of 318 games. Well done, Papa. That's outstanding. And Origin reps Lindsay Collins, Spencer Leniu, Connor Watson, all of them. They're set to back up. Hudson Young for the Canberra Raiders as well. Owen Paddy, he's going to start the side in the place of suspended hooker Tom Starling. We talk about depth. Great young player.
He is.
Really good young player. And Mark Nawanga-Nitawasi has scored 6 tries in the last 4 games. He's outstanding. Matty Rogers on Sports Day thinks he'll play Origin in next year.
Next year. Just that high ball's the only concern. But he looks. You know what? He's built. He looks like an Origin player.
He's big.
Is that what they say?
Who wins?
I haven't heard that before.
Roosters or Raiders?
Oh God, it's a tough one. I'm going to take Canberra.
I'm going to take the Raiders, and again, I think they'll do it late, or they'll have to hold on late. They'll win a lot of their games.
Yeah, toss of the coin, isn't it?
They'll always go 12 rounds.
I don't really like that we've got to wait till 6:15 for the round, but that's just how.
Do you love Sunday night footy? I love the late
I'm not
game.
a Sunday night fan, I've got to say.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm just not into it.
Okay. Are you a Monday night fan?
I wouldn't mind the old Monday night back.
Only once in a while.
Yeah.
Not every week.
It was good fun.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's get
to... They were good fun to go to Monday night games.
Because you get a seat.
Well, just because it was a school night.
Yeah, true.
Had an excuse to go out and about. And
now, if you haven't got the SEN app, make sure you download the app from the App Store and Google Play Store. You're listening to Saturday League Kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster. Thank you, Hillstorm Hillary. He says, awesome combo, this Fox and SEN. Good job. Who thought of it? Yeah, well, it was Webby and I's idea.
We came up with it.
Yeah,
we're ideas men.
We're quite smart men, not. Hey, let's get to a break. Well, that's nearly it for another edition of Saturday League Kickoff. We love all your text messages, all the kind words, loving the show. Keep up the amazing work, boys. Alex, plenty of people are loving what each and every Saturday is bringing you on Fox League, all our viewers and all our listeners through the SEN network. Thank you very much. Now, Terry from Thursday Island.
Wow.
TI, yeah. Now, TI Roosters, Terry, are they still around? Thursday Island Roosters. Michael Barney played for the Cowboys. I'm pretty sure he was a Thursday Island born and bred. The Maroons should have done what Laurie Daly did and pick players on form. Well, Queensland haven't done a lot of that in the past, have they? It's just been people that have turned up historically. Get Horsburgh in, and also the inform halfback that Queensland has in the comp right now, Jamal Fogarty. We've had a lot of texts about Jamal Fogarty, and we haven't got to a lot of those. Or bring back Papa as well. Well, he made himself unavailable, didn't he, a couple of years ago, Papa, from Origin, and he's got a huge achievement today with equals the most games for the Raiders as well. Hey, thank you very much also to Winghouse. They do State of Origin better than anyone. You can book your table at Winghouse now. Now, we have got a caller. We've got Luke from Albany Creek, 1300 01 1170. He's on the line. How are you, Luke?
Hey, yeah, good, thanks, boys. How are you?
Going very well, buddy.
Like my Winghouse as well. I'm going to get down there later.
Nice.
Boys, DCE, he's copped a lot of criticism following that first Origin game.
Yep.
I think it's a bit hard done by. I think the Maroons really struggled. I think it was a team issue broader than just DCE. He should be there for the next one. What do you think?
I think he will be there. Luke. And I think they'll have, like we were saying earlier on, mate. I think Tommy Dearden will be there, and I think they'll pull that trigger a lot earlier I think you'll be there.
I think he will be. I think it'd be just too big a call to dump the captain. And you're right. I don't think he was the worst player on the field.
Yeah, and Luke, I think I agree with you. I think Billy will be focusing more on the forwards and what role they play. So the likes of Munster and DCE and Ponga, that can have more of an influence. I bet Horsburgh makes sure the Raiders kick to Spencer to show Billy what he will do. Lundy says.
I'd love to see Horsburgh there in Origin 2, just for the fireworks.
Yep. Him and just before, just as kickoff happened, they're calling the game. Just as kickoff happened, looking down the sideline, and as the kickoff occurs, the four reserves get up and they do a warm up down the sideline. Spencer Lanier ran to the southwestern corner of Suncorp as the ball had kicked off in the game, and he just revved up. He just revved up the Queensland crowd, just screamed at them, and they were baying for blood. The Queensland crowd, they had the opportunity to do that. They kicked to the other side to Maxi King. So
that's interesting.
It may happen in the Canberra Raiders and the Roosters game. Hopefully. Hey, thank you very much to Dean Young for joining us on Saturday League Kickoff, and also you, the listeners and the viewers at Fox League, for getting involved in the show. We love having your attention each and every Saturday, myself and Webby. But don't worry, we're here for another hour. But we're just going to, like you said, we're just going to dovetail over to the far studio, and we're going to do crunch time. We're going to get to a lot more of your texts because that's what makes our content each and every week. Thank you, Webby. We're going to be back after the break as well. But if you're leaving us now, thank you very much. Have a great weekend of rugby league.